And Pearl, this is take two. I wished you a happy birthday on your birthday a week ago, but thanks to Amazon Web Services, Restream did not do it. So we're doing take two, and this has not happened to me much in my 20,000 interviews, but oh well. Let's go right to the subject matter instead of just kind of diving in, but also wish all of your followers I guess, 'cause you got to see the whole birthday process begin. So tell us what
Yeah.
happened. Yeah.
Oh, so thank you so much. I know that was kind of funny, but I had a great birthday. You're going to think it's crazy. However, after you and I finished, I started my birthday with doing my profit and loss statement for the year. And so one of my friends, why would you want to do that on your birthday? I'm like, because it's the best gift I can give myself of reality of what's happening and what the future is going to bring. And then crazy enough, my birthday then led to going to a memorial mass for a friend of mine's mother-in-law. But then after that, the fun began. I did dance lessons. I went to a spook easy location. It was a lot of fun and did some other things for self-care. So I had a great birthday month. And it's interesting that on my birthday, I mean, you and I are going to talk about this today. I was doing some scheduling with my posts and stuff like I do as well on Mondays. And I started working with my AI tools, of course, and I started thinking about our conversation we had because, when we talk things in the world, Big Brother listens and things show up, right? And so you and I had talked about how not using AI for relationships and not using it for, the therapy and that there's a lot of value in having the human touch on those different areas. And so that was all popping up on Monday for me
Yeah,
as well.
but isn't that interesting? That's because Big Brother is listening. Shout out to the bee who records every conversation I have 24/7, 7 days a week, and puts it into an organized platform. If I told you what I have planned of an AI, you would just be blown away. And I don't want to create an AI company at all. I just use the
No,
tools. But let's go
exactly.
right. Let's go ultimately to your relationship conversation we had last week that never aired, but we do have the transcript, but that's okay. Regarding, the whole situation about using ChatGPT for relationship advice. Go into that.
Yeah, so I was showing the example with Neil last week that I had a client who I've been working with for a little while, and all of a sudden earlier in the year, I noticed some changes, and no matter what I was trying to help guide them through, it was still like this pushback, and I felt like there was this third person I was speaking to with her, and so we were here, we were doing some intensive coaching because when you work with me, you get a weekend intensive coaching in person with me, and you just have to get to me, and then we'll do that. So we were working on that. And she went home and started practicing some of the tools. And she came back and she told me that her and the person that she was working on this relationship with have both decided they were no longer going to use Chat GPT in their relationship discussions. And I was blown away, as I shared last week with you, I was blown away that why are we having conversations with AI about having a conversation with somebody we care about? Because AI doesn't mirror your conversation. AI doesn't challenge your conversation. AI doesn't say, well, if you and Neil are going to sit down and have a conversation and this is how you feel, Neil might feel this way because they don't know what Neil's voice is and what Neil's thoughts are and feeling. And so when I found out that's what they're doing, I was like, aha, that's what's been going on since when? And they confirmed, my client confirmed that it had been since February of that year, which is around the time frame I started noticing this happening. And so I was like, okay, get rid of the third person in your conversation because again, as I said, they can't really, it's just your voice that's going in there. They can't feel, touch, and know the feel felt love of a conversation. And so I just recently, after you and I talked last week, we had our session as well and confirm that it's much better. Conversations are much better. Relationship is much better because guess what? You're not one-sided thinking anymore.
So what are you seeing in this AI process? Because we're going to get into companions next on the next podcast, which I can't wait. But when they talk about, let's talk about specifically enough the kind of a relationship advice that ChatGPT is giving people without giving anything away from what you've had in conversations.
Yeah. So what I'm seeing is if you could think about you've got a pot of stew, right? You're going to make a pot of soup and you've got to put all of these things into the soup, potatoes, carrots, peas, whatever you like, beef, chicken, whatever. All the stuff is going to go in the soup. So if you can think about it this way, Chat GPT, whatever platform you're using, they're taking all the soup and nuts of what everybody is typing in there saying, help me with this. My relationship feels like this. This is what's going on, in this or that. they're putting it all together in a big pot of soup. And so when I come in and say, hey, I want to talk to somebody about, working with them, or I want to talk to somebody that's really got me upset and, I don't know how to speak to them. It just goes into the soup. It starts stirring up the soup, and it pulls out, a ladle of carrots and stone of potatoes, whatever. And it gives you a little bit of everybody's stuff, that thoughts that we're throwing in there and how they helped them previously. So it's really not asking you the hard questions. Well, how did you feel about it? Or how did that person feel about it when you said this? What's their way of thinking? Do they think, are they, risk takers? Are they controllers? Are they, they don't think about the
Right.
saboteurs that we have in our brain. So it's just spitting out what you're asking for instead of asking, okay, so did you have a conversation recently? As a coach, when you sit with me, I ask and talk about, the things that bring you joy. But when we're working on relationships and we work on how to communicate your realistic expectations to others. You have to know what the other person's love language is. You have to know how they respond. Because I can tell you, like with Chuck and I, if something happens, Chuck can go from 0 to 60 in a heartbeat. So I know that can happen for him. So I will go in a conversation with him and say, hey, are you open to receiving something that's on my mind today? Therefore, because I already know, now ChatGPT doesn't know how Chuck responds. I already know how Chuck might respond to the conversation. So he can tell me, hey, no, I need a little bit of time. So our commitment with one another is, okay, within 24 hours, we're going to come back and circle around and have the conversation. Now, here's the thing. ChatGPT doesn't know that maybe in 24 hours, I might be okay. I might be in a better way spot. I might have figured it all out. So that when we do come back around, I might say to Chuck, hey, you know what? I figured it out. I saw what was happening and I was able to walk through it, right? AI doesn't do that. It doesn't give you, tools to how to navigate relationships, how to navigate conversations. It's only going to navigate what's between your ears and what you're telling it. And those are your feelings. It's not navigating what the other person's feeling because you don't know 100%. You may be in a relationship and, I've been with Chuck 40 years. I, for the most part, know how
Right.
he thinks. However, AI doesn't know that. So it's just going to spit out what your way of thinking is or what somebody else in the pot of stew put in there.
100%. And see, and this is where I don't want it to take you down a rabbit hole because this is relationships. But what I'm learning now, I could have given advice to how to use ChatGPT better in relationships. But you're so right about everything you just said. Because I mean, it wants to be your friend. Its job, AI's job, unless you program it correctly. And this is where it gets really complicated. And unless you program this software, it won't work. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that means you have to be a computer programmer to really drive AI correctly. That's scary, but all of us as humans can be computer programmers because we don't need to know code now. But we have to think like a computer programmer. But that's for another time and another place. But the point I'm going to make is that the role of what OpenAI wants and every large language model wants, ChatGPT, Grok, any Facebooks, whatever it is you're having a conversation with. Their job is to please the customer. So they're going to tell you everything you want to hear, right?
Yeah.
That's not good. That's not good.
100% not
That's
good.
not.
And Neil, here's the other thing
Mhm.
that's not good about it. And we talked about this a little bit last week when we had the recording. It's also, and I'm going to touch a nerve for many people who are going to hear this, but in some way, there does need to be some regulations because just like back in the day, we regulated music, we coded music for what kind of language, right? We cannot have a system. And, as a mom who's lost a child, my heart goes out to the family whose son took his life with the help of ChatGPT. Like ChatGPT told him how he did it wrong, what he did wrong, and then told him how to do it right. And unfortunately, he's not here anymore. And so those are the reasons why I think ChatGPT and whatever you use AI, there needs to be some sort of regulation because when those things come up, there needs to be something in there because the systems, again, like you just said, it's going to tell you what you want to know. It's going to tell you how to do everything you want to know how to do. And unfortunately, it doesn't recognize because, again, like you just said, we're not programming to say, hey, recognize when somebody is going to have idle thoughts that could be harmful to them, right?
Right.
They
Hmm.
don't do that. Like when I coach for a nonprofit. And each of the ladies get a private session with me. And what I tell them is, listen, the session is private. Unless I feel like you're going to harm yourself, then I have to let somebody know. We don't have that with ChatGPT or any of these AI tools, and that's what's missing.
And I'm going to say to you, the problem is because AI is our next war. In wars, the World War III will be done through AI. This is me even going crazy here, but it's
No,
true.
I think
That
you
that
touch
so
on
so so
something.
that you're not going to be able to regulate, or you're going to lose against China and Russia. So that's going to be the biggest problem. So it's going to be up to parents. It's going to be up to how social media was so dangerous, Pearl, back in the day, that if you're not monitoring your kid's phone, you're not going into your kid's phone all the time, you're not knowing who their friends are, all these different things, you are going to, it's going to backfire on you because there's
Yeah.
just so many tools available. And it's having conversations with our kids, bringing back the dinner table as much as we can. All right, best place we can go, Pearl, to schedule a
Yeah.
call with you today. Go.
Yeah, go to wsliving.com. That's wsliving.com. Make a tea with me and let's talk some more about AI, or let's talk about how you can communicate your realistic expectations.